He loves this mantra that somehow I was the all-powerful one with all the financial control.
It started like a whisper, one suspicious line item buried deep in a spreadsheet, passed between diehard fans like a secret map. But by the time it hit the forums, that whisper had turned into a thunderclap. According to a fan-led financial deep dive, now gaining traction across social media, someone allegedly shifted a whopping $40,000 in shared Brown family debt straight into Robyn's column. Not only that, the move appears to have been tucked away so quietly that even longtime family followers didn't catch it until now. And Janelle? She's allegedly had enough.
I'm stuck. Financially, I have nothing. Christine had the house, I have nothing. My name is on property with everybody else. Probably nobody will cooperate now and play ball.
Insiders say she's furious, not just about the number, but about the gall, the alleged hypocrisy. The fact that the woman who once cried poor while accepting extra from the family pot now seems to be swimming in off-the-books financial perks. And the timing? Let's just say it couldn't be worse. This isn't just internet sleuthing for sport. It's turning into a full-blown reckoning. The fans behind the audit are a well-organized force, cross-referencing everything from screen-grabbed TLC episodes to old blog entries and tax hints dropped in passing during the pandemic years. What they uncovered, they claim, is a string of suspicious transactions dating back months. But the one that really lit a fire? A sudden debt shift allegedly marked shared family fund on 1 month's tally, only to reappear under Robyn's personal expenditures weeks later, wiped clean from the joint column. No clear explanation, no documentation shown on camera, and allegedly no family-wide discussion, just gone, redirected, quietly, like no one was ever supposed to notice. But Janelle noticed.
I can't believe I'm 50 and I can't even do my own thing. Because I'm so tied up with them financially.
And according to whispers from close friends, she is livid. This is the same woman who counted every dime to keep her RV stocked, who clipped coupons on camera while Robyn was allegedly shelling out for luxury decor and hiring nannies. That quiet dignity has its limits, and this fan-led audit may have finally blown past them. People close to Janelle say she's been quietly tracking discrepancies for years. But this was the spark. It was blatant, one insider reportedly said, and it wasn't just about the number, it was the principle. She's done playing polite, and that's when it got even messier, because the deeper fans dig, the more tangled and possibly incriminating the money trail becomes. To truly understand how a group of dedicated fans became accidental forensic accountants, we have to rewind a bit. This wasn't a random Reddit conspiracy or a Facebook group going rogue. It started with frustration, long simmering and deeply personal, for many longtime viewers who felt emotionally invested in the sister wives story. When season 17 aired, something shifted. People began pausing scenes, jotting down dollar amounts mentioned in confessionals, even matching up background receipts on countertops. One retired bookkeeper in Colorado, who goes by Susan B., online claimed she first noticed a pattern in the payout language Robyn and Kody used when discussing shared funds, and from there, others jumped in. Screenshots were taken, clips were timestamped. Before anyone realized what was happening, there was a full Google Drive circulating, color-coded, annotated, and updated weekly. And here's where it gets fascinating.
Do you still believe in polygamy?
It's a tough one right now for me. If I had some sort of guarantee and Kody was up for it, yeah. But I have no guarantee and Kody's not up for it, and I'm scared to death of it now.
The movement wasn't driven by tabloid drama, but by a deeply personal sense of justice. Many of these women are financial survivors themselves, divorced, retired, or supporting adult children. They've lived through budget constraints and watched the emotional strain of economic inequality unfold in their own families. So when Robyn began discussing child expenses that didn't seem to add up, or when Kody casually mentioned big purchases on camera with no context, these fans didn't just gossip. They investigated. What they claim to have uncovered is staggering. According to a spreadsheet entry dated early last year, a $39,750 expense listed under the label Community Overhead allegedly vanished from the shared pot, only to show up later in Robyn's personal column with a vague title, Household Adjustments. The date change? Just 12 days apart. And then another entry showed the remaining $250 marked miscellaneous school fees for Robyn's youngest children. This wasn't just bookkeeping. It looked like someone had carefully removed the charge from shared records and reclassified it under Robyn's name, without any documented discussion or on-screen mention. That might have passed unnoticed if it weren't for one tiny moment from a deleted scene, which someone dug up from an archived bonus clip. In it, Janelle glances at her phone, muttering, "Where did that expense come from?" The camera cuts away before she elaborates. But fans now believe that moment was about this transaction. And whether or not that's true, the clip added fuel to an already growing fire.
I don't recognize this man. I don't know who this guy is. Maybe this is who he always was, I don't know. But I don't recognize this very mean person.
Soon after, even larger questions began circulating. Did TLC know? Were these production-approved expenses? Did Robyn have a side deal that let her front purchases and then get reimbursed behind the scenes? None of these allegations are confirmed, but the timing of it all is uncanny, especially considering the family's dwindling financial unity over the past 2 seasons. And then there's the emotional undertone no spreadsheet can capture. Viewers aren't just upset about dollars and cents, they're heartbroken watching a family they once rooted for twist itself into financial knots. And with the $40,000 shift now in the spotlight, the fan base isn't letting this one go. Because if this alleged transfer did happen the way it looks, what else has been quietly redirected without the wife's consent? Robyn's spending habits have always sparked debate, but this alleged debt shift has peeled back the curtain on something even deeper, a long brewing pattern that fans are calling the Robyn funnel. That phrase, now trending in fan groups, refers to a string of purchases and privileges that over time allegedly keep ending up in Robyn's lap, whether or not they were framed as family decisions. And while the $40,000 ledger shift might be the most damning financial marker yet, it's far from the first red flag. Longtime viewers still remember the jewelry boutique. Yes, that jewelry boutique, the one that launched with a lot of family fanfare and ended with silence. Janelle, Christine, and Mary all poured hours into designing, branding, and shipping for the now-defunct My Sister Wife's Closet. But it was Robyn who managed the books, and when the business mysteriously folded, fans were left with questions. Where did the inventory go? Why were some family members reimbursed while others weren't? Allegedly, Robyn took home the remains under the umbrella of managing liquidation, but no documentation was ever shared publicly.
I was not respected as a wife. I wasn't respected as a sister wife. But he didn't respect me as a sister wife. He didn't respect me as a mom. He didn't respect me as a person, as an individual, as a woman. But when I started to respect myself was when I kicked Kody out of my bed and out of my room.
Then came the nanny controversy. At the height of COVID lockdowns, when other households were struggling to balance remote learning and job security, Robyn's home was the only one employing outside help full-time. On screen, Kody brushed off concerns by citing health protocols and consistency for the younger kids, but fans weren't buying it. They combed through previous episodes, noting Robyn's children were receiving private tutoring, extracurricular support, and even speech services, all while Janelle and Christine were managing larger households with less income. Now fans are tying these pieces together. The jewelry liquidation, the private nanny, the ever-expanding home renovations, the doll room. Yes, Robyn's infamous doll room with its rumored 5-figure price tag. According to one leaked scene, she justified it as a way to honor her childhood and provide a comforting space for her daughters. But as one Reddit user bluntly put it, Janelle lived in a trailer while Robyn's porcelain dolls got climate control. That single quote has now been screenshotted and shared over 40,000 times across social platforms. The emotional fallout from all this isn't just about financial resentment, it's about perceived values. Janelle has always been portrayed as the budget hawk, the practical one, the mom who could stretch $1 into dinner and college funds. Robyn, in contrast, has increasingly become associated with indulgence, intentional or not. And now that the numbers appear to back that up, even casual fans are starting to question the entire structure of the Brown family's Unity Fund. Was it ever fair? Was it ever transparent? And that's what makes this so explosive, because it's not just the fans calling it out anymore. Behind closed doors, insiders say Janelle is bringing receipts, literal and metaphorical, and she's not keeping quiet. She's had enough, one friend allegedly shared. It's not even about the money anymore. It's about what the money represents. And the next time Robyn tries to say she's the one holding the family together, well, let's just say that argument might not fly with a $40,000 paper trail hanging over her head. Once the audit zeroed in on the actual numbers, fans began piecing together what appeared to be a staggered timeline of Robyn's alleged ledger maneuvers, and what they found raised more than just eyebrows. According to the circulating files, the $40,000 shift didn't happen all at once. It was allegedly broken into 3 separate transactions over a 4-week span, each labeled with unusually vague terms like miscellaneous housing, utilities correction, and the most baffling of all, Q4 carryover variance. Now, that last one sounds like something pulled from a corporate annual report, not a plural marriage home budget. But here's the kicker. These terms didn't appear in any prior family budgets made public, and certainly not in Janelle's famously handwritten ledgers from earlier seasons. So where did this mysterious language come from? Insiders claim Robyn's background in working retail and administrative jobs may have given her just enough financial lingo to mask personal expenses as collective ones, at least on paper. One former crew member reportedly told a fan blogger that Robyn was very particular about her labels during TLC filming and often requested retakes when financial documents were visible. That alone doesn't prove anything, of course, but it paints a picture of someone who allegedly knew just how to make things look official while sliding them under the radar. What stunned fans even more was a note allegedly found alongside one of the entries, to be reviewed at Q3 Family Sit-Down. That one line has turned into its own storm, because no such sit-down was ever aired. No discussion was captured, and sources close to Janelle say she never saw that line item or heard the term Q3 mentioned in any family financial conversation. If this note was real, it meant either Robyn had created an internal financial calendar no one else had access to, or worse, she was fabricating a meeting to make the transfer appear collaborative. When fan groups presented this timeline online, complete with highlighted PDFs and time-stamped TLC footage showing discrepancies, the energy shifted. This wasn't just curiosity anymore, it was accountability. Fans weren't just catching Robyn, they were holding up a mirror to the entire family structure and asking why one wife's numbers kept slipping through the cracks. And more importantly, why no one, especially Kody, was stepping in to explain. Janelle, for her part, allegedly went straight to the source. One close friend claims she sent an itemized document to Kody via email after fans tagged her in multiple posts, asking him to clarify or correct the entries in question. As of this writing, there's been no on-camera acknowledgement of that confrontation, but sources say the tension in the group chat that week was off the charts. Even Christine, who's now mostly distanced herself, was reportedly watching it all unfold with interest. Because here's the truth, when the numbers start shifting and no one wants to talk about it, that silence becomes its own kind of evidence. And for Janelle, who's watched her sacrifices turn invisible while Robyn's expenses keep multiplying, that silence, it may have finally spoken louder than words. Janelle has never been one to throw a tantrum on camera. Her approach has always been methodical, controlled, even when seething underneath. But insiders say this time, something shifted. The quiet budgetar turned into a slow-burning whistleblower. Because while Kody might have claimed that each wife has her own financial responsibilities, what's allegedly coming to light now paints a very different picture. And for Janelle, who's long taken pride in managing her own books, this alleged hypocrisy cuts deeper than anything before. Sources close to her say the $40,000 debt shift wasn't just a betrayal of trust, it was a calculated insult to everything she's worked for. Remember, this is the same woman who lived in a trailer while the rest of the family bounced between rentals and renovations. The woman who took her sons out to chop wood, cleaned her own gray water tank, and budgeted every grocery trip to make sure no child went without. When Kody questioned her choices or pushed for upgrades she couldn't afford, Janelle didn't whine. She strategized. So to discover that Robyn's ledger allegedly absorbed tens of thousands in reclassified debt while Janelle was rationing propane, that doesn't just sting, it scorches. What's especially galling, according to people in Janelle's circle, is the double standard. Every time Janelle asked for clarity or voiced concern about money in the past, she was painted as difficult or too focused on numbers. Meanwhile, Robyn's emotional appeals, often punctuated by tears or references to her children's needs, seemed to clear any roadblock. Janelle, being more stoic, was left holding the budgeting bag, while Robyn's wish list allegedly got quietly checked off behind the scenes. And with this new audit surfacing, that narrative isn't just being questioned, it's being unraveled. One alleged example that particularly outraged fans involved a shared family expense marked for holiday planning, which was reclassified weeks later as a Robyn-only line item, complete with notes about special order decor and custom furniture for her Flagstaff home. The cost? Nearly $8,000. The label? Legacy Traditions. That vague phrasing sparked online fury, with one fan writing, "Legacy traditions don't require a chandelier." Another pointed out that Janelle hosted Christmas in a single-wide trailer the same year. That kind of side-by-side comparison has lit up social media like wildfire. TikTok clips, YouTube breakdowns, and annotated budget graphs are now circulating with Janelle's stoic face on one side and Robyn's remodeled living room on the other. And while TLC has remained silent, the court of public opinion has already ruled something doesn't smell right. As for Janelle, insiders claim she's no longer willing to let it slide. She's allegedly requested a full financial sit-down with Kody and, if necessary, with network producers. She wants answers, a source said, but more than that, she wants accountability. And she's done playing by their rules. Because when you've spent decades being told to just trust the process, and then find out the process may have been rewritten behind your back, you stop waiting for permission to speak up. If Janelle was the flame, Kody was the gasoline, because instead of acknowledging the rising outrage or even pretending to mediate, he allegedly doubled down. According to a source close to the Brown family, when Janelle pressed him about the suspicious line items and the growing buzz online, Kody allegedly brushed her off with a phrase that's now become infamous among fans: "It's all family money in the end." That line, so casually dismissive, was enough to send Janelle into what insiders described as her coldest fury to date. Not loud, not public, but razor sharp. Because after years of carefully tracking her own income, helping adult kids through college, and skipping luxuries to make ends meet, to be told that her sacrifices were just folded into someone else's household spending, that wasn't just tone deaf, it was insulting. From what we're hearing, Kody tried to smooth things over by launching into one of his usual "we're all one team" speeches, but for Janelle, the team has felt fractured for years. Especially since she's allegedly seen firsthand how Robyn's household runs separate from the others, elevated and increasingly protected. And that so-called $40,000 oversight only reinforced what she and many fans have long suspected: the finances have never been as equal as Kody claimed. What's more, insiders allege that Kody attempted to justify the expenses by referencing Robyn's role as the emotional anchor of the family. One report suggests he argued that Robyn's stress levels required additional support, from therapy services to wellness upgrades in the home. Those vague justifications allegedly lined up suspiciously well with some of the ambiguous expense labels in the audit: household restoration, family wellness, and the fan favorite maternal support budget. That last one sent fan groups into overdrive, with one viewer sarcastically writing, "I didn't know maternal support required a second fireplace and custom drapery." The irony isn't lost on anyone, because when Christine left, Kody blamed her for breaking the family. When Mary pulled away, he said she isolated herself. But when Robyn racks up private spending and the numbers don't add up, suddenly she's the one who needs emotional protection. And Janelle once again is expected to be the reasonable one, the one who understands, the one who sacrifices. But the tide has turned, and sources claim Janelle's now using the very tools that once made her invisible: her budgeting, her restraint, her quiet precision, to confront the chaos head-on. Behind closed doors, she's allegedly requested a full reconciliation of accounts going back 2 years. And while Kody reportedly tried to delay that meeting, blaming TLC scheduling conflicts, Janelle isn't budging. Because when the numbers start speaking louder than the man in charge, it gets harder and harder to ignore whose story the balance sheet really tells. And just when things couldn't get more tense, the fans got louder. Screenshots, annotations, side-by-side footage comparisons, all pouring into the inboxes of producers and cast members alike. Because if Kody thought he could dismiss the money trail as family business, he may have underestimated just how invested the family has become. While the Brown family scrambled behind closed doors, the fan base had already shifted into high gear. What began as whispers in private Facebook groups soon erupted into a full-blown digital investigation across multiple platforms. TikTok creators uploaded mini documentaries, piecing together timelines, receipts, and discrepancies. Reddit threads ballooned into hundreds of comments within hours, and Instagram reels were suddenly flooded with side-by-side comparisons of Janelle's modest living space versus Robyn's luxury renovations. These weren't passive fans anymore. They were seasoned investigators, women in their 50s and 60s who had watched every season, taken notes, and knew when something smelled off. And this latest alleged debt shift, it didn't just smell off, it reeked of favoritism. The hashtag Justice for Janelle surged across platforms. Viewers posted screenshots of Kody's on-camera statements about fairness, only to follow them with freeze frames of Robyn's gleaming interiors and ornate furniture. Some fans even tracked shipping timelines on boutique orders, Robyn mentioned, comparing them to when shared expenses suddenly jumped. One sharp-eyed follower even pointed out a designer vase in Robyn's home that matched an item listed in a high-end catalog, priced at nearly $1,200 around the same time one of the household wellness charges appeared in the fan audit. Coincidence? Maybe, but enough of those and people start drawing their own conclusions. As the internet frenzy escalated, pressure began mounting on TLC itself. Fans began tagging the network's official account, demanding answers. Comments flooded the sister wives' social media pages, asking point-blank why Janelle was penny-pinching in the dirt, while Robyn's spending went unexplained. Some even threatened to boycott the show unless the issue was addressed publicly. TLC didn't respond, of course. They rarely do. But insiders claim the noise wasn't ignored. According to someone allegedly connected to the production crew, they're paying attention now. They're seeing the backlash. There's talk about how to pivot. And amid all of this, Janelle's quiet dignity only amplified the uproar. She didn't post rants. She didn't give interviews. But she didn't deny the claims either. Instead, fans noted that she liked a suspiciously timed comment on Instagram. Funny how some people cry broke while living like queens. The internet took that as a silent confirmation and ran with it. Even Christine, who's mostly kept out of the money fight since her departure, subtly stirred the pot. In a video about budgeting for college, she casually said, "You can do a lot with 40 grand if you're smart about it." No names were mentioned, but no one had to guess. This wasn't just a fan movement anymore, it was a cultural moment. Women who'd followed this show for over a decade were no longer content to watch it unfold. They were actively reshaping the narrative, demanding accountability not just from the Browns, but from the entire machine behind them. And the more they uncovered, the clearer it became. This wasn't just about one mysterious transaction. It was about a pattern, a pressure point, a silent imbalance that had finally been dragged into the light. And just when things seemed to settle, the family drama took an even sharper turn, one that may have legal consequences. With the audit picking up steam and Janelle allegedly demanding answers behind the scenes, murmurs of legal tension began to ripple through the inner circle. At first, it was just speculation, rumor mill chatter about financial clauses in their TLC contracts or shared property titles quietly being renegotiated. But now, sources close to production claim there's real concern over whether these alleged financial maneuvers could trigger not only interpersonal fallout, but actual contractual breaches. One insider put it bluntly, the show thrives on drama, sure, but misusing family funds without disclosure? That's a legal minefield if it's true. According to a former field producer who allegedly worked during the Flagstaff relocation era, the Browns had unique arrangements with the network when it came to money. Every wife had their own payment stream, the source claimed, but the show's budget included a shared living stipend meant to cover group expenses for filming Cohesion. That means if shared money earmarked for things like utilities, travel, or set improvements was quietly redirected to enhance one wife's personal lifestyle, and especially without documented group consent, it could be interpreted as a misuse of production allowances. And there's more. Allegedly, the Browns entered into verbal or lightly documented side agreements understood between the adults but not always formalized in writing. These included things like co-signing for property, using shared names on bills, or agreeing to fund major family needs like weddings, medical care, or homeschooling. So when Robyn's expense categories shifted from family to individual with no clear explanation, it didn't just offend Janelle's sense of fairness. It may have unraveled an entire informal system that had held things together for years. Fans have now uncovered a copy of the Coyote Pass property map, filed publicly in Arizona, showing that Robyn and Kody's parcel remains the most intact and undeveloped, despite them allegedly putting the least sweat equity into the land. Janelle, who once expressed plans to build a modest structure and even camped on the property during COVID, has yet to break ground. She followed every rule, one friend told an online blogger, and yet she's the one left standing in the dirt. That's led some to wonder, did Robyn's debt shift represent a deeper move to consolidate property power? And then came the alleged email. Sources say Janelle, after weeks of quiet research and documenting inconsistencies, sent a detailed message to TLC Legal and the showrunner, outlining her financial concerns and requesting an internal review. The document, which has not been made public, reportedly includes copies of expense ledgers, fan-compiled charts, and timestamps from scenes that may contradict what was presented on screen. If true, that could put TLC in the hot seat as well, especially if the show used footage that gave viewers the impression of fairness while knowing certain accounts were quietly being shifted. Because this isn't just about emotional betrayal anymore, it's about exposure, about liability, about who knew what and when. And if those quiet numbers on a spreadsheet begin to align with footage and contracts, then Robyn's $40,000 variance could be the least of their worries. Even before the alleged audit findings went viral, cracks were already showing in the sisterhood that once defined the Brown family dynamic. But now, with the financial dominoes falling, insiders say the emotional fallout has reached a boiling point behind the scenes. Christine, who's kept her distance since her exit, has reportedly re-engaged, not to reconcile, but to support Janelle. According to a source close to both women, Christine was furious when she heard about the alleged $40,000 reclassification and said flatly, "That's exactly the kind of thing that made me leave." The two have been in close contact ever since, with some claiming they've formed their own accountability duo to quietly help track what else may have been swept under the rug over the years. And then there's Mary, long sidelined, emotionally distanced, and often portrayed as the loner in the group. At first, she stayed silent as the firestorm grew, but fans recently noticed that she's been liking comments that express sympathy for Janelle and frustration toward Robyn's alleged favoritism. One particular comment Mary acknowledged read, "They gaslit you. They gaslit all of you." That was enough to send Reddit into a frenzy, with some speculating that Mary too may be ready to speak more openly about her own financial sacrifices, especially if she discovers that shared funds she once contributed were rerouted to Robyn without her consent. The production team, according to an anonymous source, is now scrambling. There's talk that upcoming episodes may pivot to include more raw financial discussions, especially if Janelle continues pushing for on-camera accountability. One producer allegedly suggested filming a money summit, a sit-down with receipts on the table hosted by a neutral moderator. While there's no confirmation that this will happen, the fact that it's even being discussed signals just how far the controversy has traveled. What's more, fan pressure hasn't slowed. Several prominent bloggers and YouTubers in the sister wives space have begun organizing a collective list of financial inconsistencies, with one spreadsheet now approaching 60 separate entries. Some include obscure line items like family capital expenses and communal overhead, both of which now raise eyebrows in light of the alleged debt shift. Others point to legacy purchases from the Vegas years, like the infamous pool table and moving vans, wondering if those were covered equitably or if history has simply repeated itself under a new guise. Even TLC advertisers have reportedly taken notice. An industry insider claims that at least one brand asked to review upcoming ad placements after learning of the controversy, citing concerns over audience trust and transparency. That doesn't mean the show is in danger yet, but it suggests the ripple effects are no longer confined to Reddit threads and gossip blogs. They're reaching the executive level. Because when fans feel deceived and the women on screen start asking the same questions, they don't just turn off the TV. They organize, they expose, they demand better. And if this ends in a televised confrontation, let's just say the receipts might speak louder than the apologies ever could. Behind the scenes, the atmosphere is reportedly tense enough to cut with a knife. One source close to production described it as emotional triage, a delicate scramble to keep cast members calm, fans engaged, and the legal department informed. And while the family has weathered plenty of storms in the past, this one feels different. Because this isn't about personal heartbreak or parenting disagreements, it's about money, transparency, and trust. And for women like Janelle, who've stood by this family through decades of shared sacrifices and silent compromises, the alleged $40,000 ledger shift isn't just a betrayal. It's confirmation of a long-held suspicion that some voices were never meant to matter as much as others. Multiple insiders say Janelle is pushing for more than just answers. She's pushing for restitution. Not necessarily in the form of cash, but through a formal airing of the facts. One rumored confrontation reportedly took place after filming wrapped on a recent family dinner, where Janelle allegedly brought printed copies of the fan-led audit and slid them across the table toward Kody and Robyn. According to whispers from someone on set, she didn't yell, she didn't cry, she just asked, "Explain this to me," and explain it to the people watching. The room fell dead silent. No one knew what to say. Robyn, reportedly caught off guard, claimed the expenses were miscategorized and that she didn't realize how it had been framed in the ledger. But Janelle, according to the same source, wasn't having it. She pushed back with timestamps, cross-references, and a tone so calm it was chilling. "I've lived too frugally for too long," she allegedly said, "to sit here and be told I imagine this." And from that moment, the dynamic shifted. What was once an implied imbalance was now verbalized, challenged, and placed in the center of the table for all to see. Whether TLC will air that moment in its full, unedited form remains to be seen, but fans are already bracing for fallout. Some believe this could be the last season with all current cast members. Others suspect that a spin-off focused on Janelle, Christine, and financial empowerment may already be in the early planning stages. And while that's all still speculation, one thing is clear. The trust between wives, once shaky, is now openly fractured. So what happens next? Will Robyn issue a statement? Will Kody finally address the mounting accusations? Or will this alleged financial deception simply get folded into the next batch of episodes with little more than a vague nod? That all depends on how loud the audience is willing to be. Because right now, it's not just Janelle calling hypocrisy out, it's an entire generation of women who've watched, supported, and believed in a family system that's beginning to look a lot more like a carefully constructed illusion. And here's the real question for those of us watching this unfold. Do you believe Robyn's expense trail was truly an innocent mistake, or is this part of a bigger pattern that's only now unraveling? And should Janelle walk away completely, or keep fighting for the truth? Be sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned because the next video on your screen is waiting. And trust me, you won't want to miss it.